Alongside the new maps, weapons, and other content coming with the Battlefield 1 Apocalypse DLC, we're also getting an update and new direction for the soldier specializations that have been progressively added to the game. So far, these specializations have provided benefits to players who unlock and equip them, much like field upgrades from Battlefield 4 or perks in Call of Duty. But DICE is now changing direction, and they're adding what they're calling Afflictions. Now, so far, Specializations and their progression mechanic, the service assignments, they've been received with mixed feelings. Many felt that the first wave introduced with the Russian DLC, that tasked players with completing actions that weren't directly linked to their team playing properly, or encouraged them to not play the objective. The specializations themselves, they've been received fairly positively, minus those that appeared to automate team play, and those have since been removed from the game. With the Apocalypse DLC, however, the DICE dev team is changing direction and introducing a new group of specializations, but these ones directly hinder the player that chooses to equip them, rather than making them specialized in some beneficial way. These are Afflictions and are intended to challenge more experienced players who feel they're reaching the peak of progression that Battlefield 1 has to offer. Now, in the CTE Reddit pages the other day, DICE dev Captain Morph gave us a breakdown of each of the new Afflictions and what that's going to do to the player, and he's given us an overall explanation of what Afflictions are meant to be. Here's what he said. Afflictions are meant to fill the void that Specializations used to provide to more skilled players, offering an added challenge that is completely voluntary but can be worn as a badge of honor, since your victims can now see Specializations on the kill card. Afflictions won't unlock until you've made substantial progress on service assignments, and will be required to unlock some truly unique dog tags. Now, at this stage, I'm happy that Afflictions will be completely optional and not required in any way, shape or form to be applied so that you can play Battlefield 1. Now, I'll reserve the rest of my opinion until later on in the video because I want to make sure you get all of the information on Afflictions first of all. There are 5 Afflictions in total being added with the Apocalypse DLC. The first is called Death Toll. This will deduct 200 points from your score every time you die and return to the spawn screen. If you're revived, you won't lose those points. Now, this is designed for players who often find themselves at the top of the leaderboard and who want more of a challenge to try and stay there. You need to know either exactly how to play Battlefield 1 to extract as many points as possible, or simply be adaptable and skilled with the weapons on offer so you don't die as often as other players might. Number 2 is called Peacock. This will, once you're initially spotted, will keep you spotted until you die. It sounds like an egotist's dream, this one. You're going to attract a lot of attention from the enemy team. It also presents a challenge of how long you can remain unspotted until everyone starts flocking towards you, as you're the only one lit up on the minimap all the time. Number 3 is called Scavenger. This one limits your soldier to only carrying 1 magazine per weapon. It forces you to be extremely conservative with your ammunition and rely on picking up the weapons of dead enemies or teammates on the ground. Kit switching can be an extremely rewarding playstyle in Battlefield games, and now we have a specialization specifically designed to encourage that. Number 4 is called Reaper. Now, this one will degrade your health by 1 point every second that you're alive, but when you get a kill, it pauses that effect for 10 seconds. This apparently has been designed with confident and aggressive players in mind who can string together multiple kills. However, since you're always taking damage when you haven't killed someone, you're always considered in combat, unless you have killed a player and then you enter that paused state. At this point, you can then seek out health kits and you can heal back up. It also sounds like you won't be able to spawn on a player using Reaper, as they'll be in combat for most of their life. And finally, number 5 is called Paranoia. This makes players wear their gas mask constantly, limiting their visibility of what's going on around them, and it changes their audio slightly as well. Of course, you can't aim down sights either, so you'll need to operate at close range to make good use of this. Now, all of these afflictions appear to have been created with this bragging rights mindset. If you're killed by a player who has an affliction active, there is an element of humiliation that whilst they have some inherent disadvantages, they still manage to kill you. And that's about the only positive thing that I can really say about afflictions. I'm going to list everything I think is wrong with them, and not necessarily in order of severity. This is just how my mind went about trying to figure out how afflictions came to be, and how they actually got to be in a DLC for a Battlefield game. Firstly, afflictions offer no advantages alongside their disadvantages, just as previous specializations offered no disadvantages over their advantages. So from a gameplay standpoint, you have to look at it as something completely different to the rest of Battlefield 1. Most other choices made by players have a positive and negative effect. For example, picking a trench variant SMG over a factory variant. You get greater hipfire accuracy with a trench variant, but you lose the faster control regain of the factory variant. You don't get that here at all with afflictions, and personally, they don't really fit the specialization name that they've been assigned. Just as actually specializations didn't either. Should you gain an ability in one place, I feel you should lose something somewhere else along the way, thus specializing in something. The same applies for afflictions. If you're losing an ability somewhere, you should gain something in another area. Secondly, all 5 of these afflictions, they either skirt the edges or just completely ignore team and squad play. Death Toll encourages you to stay out of the way so that you don't get killed and lose 200 points every time. Peacock, that hinders your entire team in the same location as you because you send out a location beacon if you're spotted. That's not tactical at all, and considering enemy teams can have up to 32 players on them in certain game modes, what really are the chances of you not being spotted? I'd say they are pretty low. Scavenger is really not that bad. In my opinion, it does represent a real challenge that the player is in control of. You need a squad that can help you pick off players so you can take their weapons off the ground. Reaper, that's just obnoxious. You deny your team the ability to help you with health unless you kill someone. And killing is not the main objective of most game modes in Battlefield 1. There are proper objectives that you should be focusing on, and killing should surround those objectives to help your team push forwards and win the round. It also stops people using you as a spawn point, since most of the time you're going to be taking damage from the affliction, and that makes it a very selfish affliction. The 5th one, Paranoia, I don't really have too much of an issue with that one either. It's probably the one I'm most likely to try when they are released, just to see how much of an impact it really has on my ability to play game modes properly. And thirdly, most of these afflictions encourage a lone wolf playstyle, which is exactly what Battlefield 1 did not need more of, and that's exactly what the franchise should not be doing. Team and squad play has always been a part of Battlefield games, and I would have to say in Battlefield 1, it is as weak as ever. The game needs more incentives to play together as a squad and team, and these afflictions only appear to inflate the egos of players who try to use them. Bragging rights highlighted by a very small piece of text on the kill card in the kill cam to me is not really much of a reward for a player who's applied an affliction. These unique dog tags that are going to be handed out for using the afflictions as well. I mean, come on, we don't even get to see our own dog tags in game, and the enemy sees them for about 3 seconds in the kill cam, which most likely they're going to skip. Why not create some unique weapon skins that we can apply to ourselves, and we can actually see them in-game for using the afflictions and being successful with them? That, to me, would be a greater prize than a dog tag that, as I said, I can't even see on my own soldier. When I first saw that Afflictions were coming to the Apocalypse DLC, I was intrigued by what they would entail, and I was kind of excited, but now that I have more information, I'm extremely disappointed. In my own opinion, without seeing them in action of course, I feel time making these could have been better spent making 20 or 30 challenging assignments within the game that rewarded things people are already happy to receive. What we have to remember here is that Afflictions are being added to the game to give you more progression. But I would argue that this is a very bad form of progression, and it doesn't promote some of the core pillars of what Battlefield is all about. How about instead a slew of new assignments that had weapon skins locked behind them that required you to do various team play and squad play actions? Maybe you could have some marksman assignments in there where you need to fire your spotting flare and spot 300 enemies for your team on the minimap, and then get headshots as well in another assignment, requiring you to be skillful with that sniper rifle. Maybe some support assignments that encourage vehicle repairs and resupplies. I think that would have been a benefit to the community, rather than requiring players to complete previous specializations to get access to abilities that directly make you worse on the battlefield without giving you a benefit in another area. I'm just very disappointed because Afflictions really doesn't represent the direction that I and many others think the franchise should really be going in. The Reddit thread announcing this has mainly been replied to with extreme disappointment and negative feedback from the community, and to be honest, I totally agree with that. The most infuriating thing, however, DICE has already advertised Afflictions as being included with the Apocalypse DLC, and that means we're unlikely to see them dropped or held back. With the CTE also being closed for the next 2 weeks, it seems unlikely that we'll get a chance to test them either. So, overall, I'm not a fan of Afflictions at all, but if they are included in the game, I might as well give them a try and see what I think in practice. At this stage, none of us have actually used them, and therefore we don't really have a good measure for them and how much they will affect gameplay. But make sure you leave your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll be down there reading as many as I can. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.